This woman installed a video camera in her house. Looking through the recording, she saw that at night an unknown man entered her house and hid under the bed. At the beginning of the story, the girl returns home after work. She discovers that the electricity in her apartment doesn't work, although the lights in the rest of the house are on. Sensing something wrong, she uses a flashlight to casually look around the apartment. An unknown man appears behind her and attacks her. A few days pass. In the same building in the next apartment over, a man wakes up to the sound of the alarm clock. He tenderly strokes a girl lying next to him, eats his breakfast and leaves. After a while, the main character named Kyungmin also wakes up. After finishing her morning routine, she leaves the house and finds stains on the door lock buttons. Kyungmin is pedantic and neat, so the extraneous dirt stains make her worry. Just in case, she changes the door code. Kyungmin has worked at the bank for a long time, but things don't always go well because of her soft nature. After a hard day work, she returns home and notices something wrong with the door again. Now the last light is up. During a phone conversation with her mother, Kyungmin discovers that she tried to visit her while she was away. After comforting herself with the thought that her mother forgot to close the latch on the lock, she goes to bed. Suddenly, she hears someone trying to enter the code to unlock the door. Failing to unlock the door, the unknown person begins violently pulling the door handle. Overcome with fear, Kyungmin goes to the door and looks through the peephole. There is no one outside, so she looks outside and sees a cigarette butt on the floor. She wraps it in a napkin and hands it to the police for examination. The cops refuse to help Kyungmin because there is no hard evidence of a crime. She returns to her house and falls asleep after a while. In the middle of the night, a naked man emerges from her bathroom and gently strokes her hair. In the morning, Kyungmin wakes up with a terrible headache. On her way out of the house, she meets a security guard and asks him to show her the security tapes when she returns. Before work, Kyungmin comes to meet a realtor and inspects an apartment in another building. She decides to back out of the deal because the rent is unreasonably expensive. Trouble awaits Kyungmin at work as well. She tries to win over a new client, Kim Ki-jong, and impose additional bank services on him. Encouraged by her attention, the customer asks her out for coffee, but Kyungmin rejects him. The offended man accuses her of not being interested in him only because of seeing his bank statements. The offended man is escorted away by security, but in the end, he threatens to take revenge on her. Upset, Kyungmin returns home. She sees the guard being reprimanded by his boss and decides not to make the situation worse by asking to see the video from the cameras. After she falls asleep, the uninvited guest comes to her again. He puts a chloroform handkerchief on her face and she falls into an even deeper sleep. While she is unconscious, the stalker performs his nightly routine in her apartment. He takes a shower, brushes his teeth with her toothbrush, and lies down naked next to her to sleep. The next day, Kyungmin remembers nothing and suffers from a headache. After staying late at work, Kyungmin comes to the bus stop to catch the last bus. The same scandalous customer grabs her by the arm and tries to drag her with him. Kyungmin is rescued from the persistent customer by her boss, who takes her home. Once inside the apartment, she tries to turn on the light, but nothing turns on. The warden knocks on her door and gives her back the wallet she left in the car. He also helped restore electricity to the house. In gratitude, Kyungmin offers her boss a coffee. Suddenly, she realizes that she didn't tell the man her apartment number. Thinking that her boss is a stalker, Kyungmin runs out of her house and goes to the police. The cops again don't believe anything she says, but still decide to follow her to her apartment. When they open the door, they find Kyungmin's boss murdered. After the incident, Kyungmin is summoned for questioning as a suspect. To close the case as soon as possible, the detective pressures her and tries to convince her that she hired people to kill her boss. But for lack of substantial evidence, Kyungmin is released. To save the bank's reputation, Kyungmin is denied an extension to her work contract. Of all her colleagues, only her best friend Hyungju supports her. Upon returning home, Kyungmin asks the security guard to show the surveillance tapes. But this fails because the working cameras are only in the elevator and the hallways only have fakes. The security guard suggests that Kyungmin's uninvited guest might be some drunken neighbor who mixed up apartments. Kyungmin decides to move out of the unfortunate house. While cleaning, she finds a keycard for the door lock. She decides to check the apartments in the house and find out who the key belongs to. After several unsuccessful attempts, Kyungmin goes up to the floor above. There she puts a card on one of the doors and opens it. The apartment is dirty and dusty inside, giving the impression that the owner hasn't been home for a long time. On the desk, Kyungmin finds letter under Kang Seong-hae's name. Hyungju steals a bank statement from Kang Seong-hae's card to help her friend with her investigation. The girls discovers that Kyungmin's neighbor does the same amount of shopping every day, at the same time at a store near Kyungmin's house. The girls go there to follow follow the stalker. The two girls notice a girl in the store buying groceries at the designated time for price laying, the amount they saw on Kang Seong-hae's card statement. They follow her, but she manages to get out of sight. Kyung-min accidentally finds a house with the same door lock as hers. While trying to open the door, she enters her apartment code and it fits. In one of the rooms, Kyung-min finds her roommate Kang Seong-hae tied to a bed. She looks exhausted. An aesthetic IV is attached to her arm. Horrified by what she sees, Kyung-min tries to call the police but hears someone enter the house. She hides under the bed and tries not to make a sound. Confesses to Kang Seong-hae that he has found a new victim who lives one floor below her. After saying that, the man kills her and starts to cut her body into pieces. The kidnapper is distracted by a cat that runs into his house and Kyung-min manages to escape. The maniac catches up with her, but Hyung-joo saves her friend. The killer escapes when he sees a police car approaching. The detective is once again dismissive of the investigation, blaming Kyung-min's failure to remove the mask from the killer's face and identify his face. The cops finds Kang Seong-hae's corpse in a trash can. She has Kyung-min's business card clutched in her hand, which she gave to a scandalous customer. Kim Ki-joon is called in for questioning. The detective pulls the same trick on the man as Kyung-min and tries to prove his involvement in all the crimes. Even though Kim Ki-joon has a prior violent conviction, more evidence is needed to prove his guilt, so the man is released. Kyung-min moves into a new apartment and immediately has the locks changed and bars put on the windows. Meanwhile, Kim Ki-joon arrives at the girl's previous home and tries to find out from the guard where Kyung-min had moved. A courier delivers a package to her with the phone she dropped at the killer's house. She is horrified to find many pictures of herself while she is sleeping. At that exact moment, Kyung-min makes a video call to Hyung-joo. She answers the phone and sees that there is a stalker in her best friend's apartment. Without thinking for a second, Kyung-min runs to help her friend. Kim Ki-joon attacks her outside of Hyung-joo's apartment, punching her in the stomach with his fist. The police arrive on the scene just in time to save Kyung-min from another beating. Before she has time to recover, she rushes to her friend's door and breaks the lock. Inside, she sees Hyung-joo's bloodied body and passes out. Across town, an unknown man picks the lock to Kyung-min's new apartment and takes her house keys. Kyung-min wakes up in the hospital. It turns out that everything that happened in her friend's apartment was a planned staging. The stalker used Hyung-joo's laptop and recorded all the footage in advance, then called Kyung-min from her phone to let her out of the house. The detective informs the girl that the police found tools with the perpetrator's fingerprints. At the scene of Kang Seong-hae's murder, he promises Kyung-min they will do a DNA test to help put Kim Ki-joon in jail. Kyung-min visits the room of Hyung-joo, who managed to survive her encounter with the stalker. She apologized to her friend for dragging her into this nightmare. A detective walks in and gives Kyung-min a hidden camera so she can watch what's going on in her house. Kyung-min goes to the grocery store and meets the guy who used to work as a security guard at the house where she used to live. He congratulates her on catching the suspect who was stalking her. Kyung-min wants to quickly walk away from the unpleasant conversation, but hears the cashier say the total cost of customer purchase, 3,200 won, the exact amount the stalker who used the murdered girl's credit card spent. Kyung-min hastily returns home where a detective calls her. He informs the girl that her fingerprint didn't match DNA analysis of Kim Ki-joon. The suspect has been released, but someone has killed him. Shaking with fear, the girl watches the hidden camera footage. The puzzle in her head is complete. On the screen, she sees the guard hiding under her bed. She tries to escape, but he catches up with his victim this time. The police manages to figure out that the security guard of the house where Kyung-min lived is behind all the crimes. The detective learns from his colleagues that he used to work at a hotel, which is now abandoned, and goes there hoping to rescue Kyung-min. Kyung-min wakes up in the arms of the perpetrator. The man excitedly tells her that he will cut off her arms and legs as soon as she tries to escape. Kyung-min starts crying and the stalker strokes her head to calm her down. Taking advantage of the moment, she bites the psycho behind the ear and runs out of the room. A detective reaches the hotel and takes the killer's attention. The man engaged in fierce fight in which the detective is killed. The angry maniac is ready to kill his next victim and attacks Kyung-min. She manages to escape the killer's clutches again, but not for long as a heavy rag falls on them both. The killer tries to strangle Kyung-min, but Kyung-min pushes him away with all her might. He bumps his head against the nail sticking out of the shelving unit and finally dies. After After the incident, Kyungmin goes back to her apartment. Now her life is no longer in danger, but it's unlikely she'll ever be able to feel at ease.